This,
In accordance with Chapter 231 PL 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required, specifying the time and location, with such notice as being sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Times of Trenton, posted on the Municipal Public Notice Meeting Bulletin Board, and filed with the Township Clerk.
okay, thanks. Would everyone please stand and join us for a flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks, everybody. I wasn't going to. Do you can if you want to. Do you okay. I mean, we kind of don't do it for other things, so. Danielle, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Newman.
Yes.
Mr. Pato.
Yes.
Committeeman Ziner.
Present.
Committeewoman Zabrowski. Mr. Lambros.
Yes.
Mr. Pepe.
Yes.
Ms. Sinha.
Yes.
Mr. Perino.
Yes.
And no Mr. Cipriano. For the record, Mr. Coffey and Mr. Cipriano are absent. Mr. Perino will be seated for the vacant seat.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started with our meeting, there is an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting for the public to address the board, to comment on anything that's not already scheduled for discussion. Obviously, the purpose of the meeting today is to elicit some input from the public. But if there's something other than the master plan that somebody would like to discuss with the board, this is your opportunity to approach the board. Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the public comment.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
question.
I closed it. That's it.
No, I was only kidding. Hi, I'm Kevin Cross, 30 Burnt Tavern Road.
Hi, Kevin.
And
Go ahead.
how you doing? I got an email tonight and saw about the master plan re-examination. So I wasn't up to speed on it, so that's why I came, so.
Sure. Yeah, we'll bring you up to
I do have a
speed.
couple questions as to Burnt Tavern Road.
Okay.
Is there any plans to do any modifications to Burnt Tavern Road?
Well,
The intersection that way, like Peterbilt, the whole, like,
so
I've been watching the,
yeah, two things.
Yes.
We are, of course, the planning board, so we don't control decisions regarding road improvements. That would be the governing body.
It's a whole entity in itself, because you have
But our-
a state and two different counties.
Yeah, but our planner is here, and so McKinley, in your presentation, would you make a note of that if there's something to address?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Other than that, I wanted to just get up to speed on what we're evaluating, what we're looking to change.
Okay.
That's what we're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Thank you.
All right, hang in there. Okay, so tonight's kind of a different format for us, and I'll just give you a little bit of overview because there's some things that are different tonight that you wouldn't see at a regular planning board meeting. First of all, our attorney isn't here, Mike Stye, because this is a presentation by our planner, McKinley, and we'll introduce McKinley in a minute. So we didn't need that level of legal assistance for us. Also, our engineer's not here tonight. Again, this isn't about engineering. This is about planning and the master plan. So you're not seeing us in our typical complement of professionals. But this is a unique opportunity for our planner to talk about the master plan, the revisions that are in discussion, and then, of course, solicit some dialogue with you, whether it's through a system that McKinley's created, but she'll let us know. So with that, unless there's anything else from any of the board members, I'm going to turn it over to McKinley to introduce herself and get us rolling.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman said, my name is McKinley Mertz. I am a partner in a firm called MJ Planning. And our firm is the planner for the township. So we work with the planning board, the zoning board, the building department, the township committee on all matters zoning, land use, open space, farmland, agriculture, everything that is associated with the built environment, preservation, et cetera. So tonight, as was just said, is going to be kind of a special meeting. We are soliciting input from you, the community, as well as our board members here about what you want to see for Millstone over the next 10 years. And I'm going to walk you through, sir, what you said, what we're really evaluating tonight, because Most people have absolutely no idea what a master plan is. They don't know their community has one, and they don't know what it does. But I can tell you that every single town in New Jersey has a master plan of some level. There's varying elements that are required. Some are optional, but every town in New Jersey has one of these. So the first part of tonight is going to be a brief PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm going to ask you guys to get up and go to these different boards around the room to respond to the questions that are on the boards. So I'll give you directions about what to do with those. So Danielle, if you could go to the next slide on the PowerPoint there. So again, so tonight I'm going to first walk through what is a master plan reexamination report, a land use element, and a natural resource inventory. Those are the three items that our firm has been hired to prepare for Millstone. The second, we're going to talk about the difference between a master plan and a zoning ordinance, because those often get confused. We're going to talk about the public's role in this process, and that's you guys, and that's what we're doing here tonight. We're going to talk a few highlights about how Millstone has changed since the last master plan was adopted, which was in 2017. Then we will do the breakout session where we'll rotate around the room, and then we'll bring you all back to wrap up, and I'll talk to you about next steps and timelines and what to expect after this. Danielle, could you go to the next slide? So briefly, we have, again, the three elements we're talking about tonight are a master plan, a land use element, and a natural resource inventory, which we're going to shorten to NRI. So broadly speaking, the master plan itself is a policy guide that is adopted and amended by this board that is sitting in front of you, the planning board. It represents a framework for future zoning amendments that the governing body can take into consideration. It is focused on land use, investment priorities. It is not, though, telling the governing body what financial projects to invest in. It's simply making recommendations of exploratory actions for your elected officials. The municipal land use law governs land use and zoning throughout the state of New Jersey, and that document dictates that a town's master plan must be reexamined at least every 10 years. It can happen more frequently, but at the very minimum, 10 years. And if it is not reexamined, the town's zoning ordinances become vulnerable to challenge. They're not considered viable anymore. So we, along with every other town in the state, really do need to look at this every 10 years. Then we have...
And we're within the 10 years right now.
Correct. The last master plan was adopted in, I believe, November of 17. So we are doing this in 2026 to get ahead of the game with the understanding that this will be adopted by the end of 2026. So we will be well within our 10-year period and safe from any of repercussions. The land use element that we are also preparing in tandem with the reexamination is, we call them elements. They're basically like chapters of the master plan. There's multiple different chapters. You can have a circulation chapter. You can have an open space chapter. The land use chapter, though, it's really the meat of the master plan, and it is a required element of everybody's master plan. So we often do a reexamination report in tandem with a land use element, and I'll get into a little bit more specifics about why those are different in a second. The land use element, though, is the element within the master plan that is the basis for most zoning changes or updates in a town. The natural resource inventory that we're doing is really, it's an inventory. The name is appropriate. It's an index of all natural components of a community. It is also adopted by the planning board, usually as an element of the master plan. It in and of itself does not have recommendations, but it provides, again, all of the information for the planning board, the community, and the governing body about your natural resources. And Millstone there's a lot of resources here, environmental resources to review, and that also really needs to be updated every 10 years or so. Some things don't change. The geological makeup of Millstone has been the same for probably a few million years, but there are other things that we do need to review and update.
Hey, McKinley, if after this meeting, somebody wanted to say, I really want to get into this and check out that 2017 master plan, and I want to see what our zoning ordinances are, where can they find those?
So you have a wonderful website, and is well maintained in part by the woman sitting here, Danielle Sims. The 2017 master plan is on there, as is a link to the zoning ordinance. If you also just Google Millstone Township zoning ordinance, it will pop up as the first hit on Google. But everything can be found. Danielle's going to show you here.
Boards and committees from the township website, then go to planning board. And then on the left-hand side here, you'll see the document that says master plan. That is our adopted 2017 master plan. It is very big, so it takes a second to upload.
It's a couple hundred pages, yeah.
So that is our 2017 master plan. And then the ordinances, if you go to government, you can click on ordinances, and that brings you to the proposed ordinances. Additionally, you can click on government, and you can go to municipal code book to see where they are applied in our code book. And this brings you to E-Code 360, and all of our, just get out of that, all of our ordinances are searchable by term. So if you wanted to know something about, just say signs, you can just search by signs or whatever it is that you may
Yeah.
want to look for.
You can see Article 15 signs pop up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
E-Code is a very user-friendly interface, so.
Let me just get back to the,
Too many tabs.
I know,
Can you go to the next slide, please?
of course.
So a little bit more specifically into what these items are. Again, the master plan as a whole, which consists of multiple elements or chapters, is a roadmap for intended to guide the policy for physical, economic, social, any kind of development within a community. The recommendations are intended to achieve a community shared vision. So that's, we're talking about Millstone 2036. What do you want to see happen over the next 10 years? What are your goals for the next 10 years? That's what this document always is, a forward-looking, forward-thinking document. And as I previously said, it has to be re-examined every 10 years, and our last one was 2017. So some towns have adopted one comprehensive master plan in the 70s when the municipal land use law was first written, and have only ever done these re-examination reports every 10 years. Other towns will every 15 to 20 years redo the comprehensive master plan itself, where they will redo every element in the master plan. That's really what we did in 2017. It was a comprehensive amendment to the master plan. So what we're doing this time is more focused with the reexamination report. There are statutory requirements of what has to go into a reexamination report, but really what we do is we go through all of those elements from the 2017 plan. We note what is still relevant, what is no longer relevant to Millstone, what has already been achieved, so we can check that off our list. If the goals of a community have changed, why we no longer want to pursue that action or initiative. And then it does make recommendations for further changes to master plan elements or goals and objectives. Next slide, Danielle. So our land use element, again, this is a required element of the master plan. It does provide an inventory of the natural and built environment, but really the big thing is that it provides a vision for the type and intensity of uses you want to see in your town. It's the basis for zoning and will review all the changes and circumstances and propose changes to zoning, propose changes to policy associated with land use, establish new goals and objectives, et cetera. Before I go any further, I realize I should say, one thing we are not talking about tonight is affordable housing. That is another element of the master plan, and that is being handled completely separate from this master plan process. There's a lot going on with that, and that could be a whole session in and of itself, but that is separate from what we're doing tonight. So I just want to put that out there. That is an element of the master plan, but it's not a component of our scope for this. Next slide, please. And then finally, again, our natural resource inventories. So because sometimes they're called environmental resource inventories, the map on that right-hand side is I understand it's small here, but it's an example of the mapping that we'll do. This is a very heavy map document. We map soils. This is a land use land cover map. We map vernal pools. We map waterways. We map agricultural soils. It's, again, an index and an inventory of all of the natural resources of your community, and it helps guide policy because we know where these natural resources are located, and we can steer any future development towards or away from locations in town. Next slide, please. So the difference, we always want to differentiate between a master plan and a zoning ordinance, because as we just looked at, you have both Every town has both. The master plan, while it's a policy guide that makes recommendations, the zoning ordinance is the legal tool used to implement those recommendations. So if there is a recommended zoning change, we often see those when the development that has occurred on the ground is not consistent with what the zoning is, and so we want to merge those to make sure that there's fewer inconsistencies. So the master plan would recommend that zoning change, an amendment to the ordinance would implement it. While the planning board adopts the master plan, and it is 100% a planning board document, it is not a governing body document, only the township committee and the elected officials have the power to adopt amending ordinances to adjust the zoning code. This board does review those, but it's not their jurisdiction to initiate them and then adopt them. So we always say the master plan is what we want to do and how we want to get there, and the zoning ordinances is what we are allowed to do and how we can do it. So we've got our bulk standards if you want to put in a deck, a pool, a shed. The zoning ordinance is going to tell you where it can go, how big it can be, and what you're allowed to do with it, essentially. Next slide. So the public's role and what we're doing tonight, the master plan document is a community vision. So we like to say we can't plan for you without you. We need, I don't live here. I work for the town, but it's not my town. So, we have input from the board, but the community members, we need to hear from you in order to plan for a future that you want to see in Milltown. It's important that the document reflects your opinions. What did I say, Milltown? I'm sorry. We work in Milltown also.
Nobody heard it, don't worry.
Thanks for calling me. What's funny is Milltown isn't even my town. We work there, but I don't work for them.
You're so close, though.
I know. It's a mill. Sorry, Millstone. I've never done that before. That's funny. My husband works there. I don't work there.
Well, blaming your husband.
I'm
Good for
going
you.
to, yeah. So you get to help identify the issues and opportunities for Millstone based on your firsthand knowledge of living here and or working here. So your input tonight is absolutely critical to the development of this town and the plan itself. Next slide. So just a few highlights about how things have changed since the 2017 master plan. This is the population trends for the town, some demographics. Population itself, the median age, and the households, generally between 2017 and 2024 is the most recent data that we have available. Very little change in overall population and number of households. What you can see is a pretty significant change, though, from 2000 to 2024. A much bigger jump in population. The median age has crept up from 37 to 45, and the number of households has gone up from about 2,700 to 3,300. So that's what this shows us here is there was a much more significant residential development boom in that first decade of the century.
Wait, could you stay on that slide for a sec?
Yeah.
So just something jumping out at me. So the median age column. So if you're 45 in 2017, now the median age in 2024, the same. I definitely got older. So what
I didn't mention.
Oh, you didn't?
It's basically turnover from the older people and younger people moving into.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask, is that's what would cause that?
I think, it's reflecting people who are staying here into that age, and the people who were 45 in 2017 are moving on to other housing options, other communities.
Okay, so
the
so I
town's
need to
not-
retire to Florida?
It
Is that
seems
what
to
you're
be,
saying?
yeah.
Okay.
It is interesting because the town isn't necessarily aging, quote unquote. Your population
Yeah.
has maintained a very similar median age over the last 9-ish plus years.
How do you compare that to the other towns you work in? Is that normal? Is that something unique to us? Do you know?
It all depends on where we are in the community, in the state. In Monmouth County, inland towns, I do see this being fairly similar. When we go to dense urban centers that are really booming, you are seeing the population need to get a little younger there because they're attracting a lot more younger people coming over from New York who are looking for a cheaper place to live. So it is. And I don't necessarily know where people are going. I think if you were to look at Monroe, their median age probably continues to creep up because they have a significant number of 55 and older communities, and they are growing and thriving.
It is median age, not average age, though. So that's a little different.
I gotta ask you, so tell me.
So the middle, the average is all of the numbers. The
Yeah.
mean is just a bunch of dot plots, if you will. And like you can have one person or 100 people at a number, it's still the same. It equals the same value. So that's not indicative of necessarily the entire pop. That's just like we lined everybody up and everybody was equal, even though you and I might be the same age.
Yeah.
Clearly going backwards too, as I might add. But, you know, you just represent, you or 100 of you represent just one number.
Okay, all right, so it may be if we did average, it might be higher.
You might be younger.
Might be younger.
Might be lower.
Don't tell me that. All right,
So it's
so,
interesting to know what it is for other towns. That is
Yeah.
interesting.
And what we do oftentimes in the actual document is we'll compare it to the county's numbers, so you can see what the median is in Monmouth County as a whole, which will probably end up in the ultimate
so I
document.
know I'm going down a rabbit hole.
No,
but-
please.
So this, we're in a process, this is the beginning of the process. As we have another meeting or so, if you could share that info with other area
Yeah.
towns, just because we're curious.
Yes.
I know it's not gonna change what we're doing, but what the heck?
But it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
thanks.
and yeah, and households, of course, you can see has maintained only barely 2% increase from 2017, but since 2000, almost 24% increase. So things have stayed pretty similar for the last, 16 plus years. And yeah, next slide, please. This one, I'm sorry, there's a lot of text on here, but this, and I should say this PowerPoint is going to be made available on the website, and Danielle's going to circulate it to her listserv after tonight. This talks about the land use land cover data for Millstone. This is data from the DEP. It does not follow parcel lines the way tax data does. It doesn't follow municipal borders, but it is done using aerial imagery, and it's done in various intervals. I don't know how the DEP decides which year they're going to do this. The current data we have is from 2020. The data that was used during the 2017 master plan was from 2012. So it goes through the 6 different land use land cover categories: urban, agriculture, barren land, forest, wetlands, and water. And the reason why there's a lot of text on here is because for people who are not here tonight and are just reading this, I wanted to define what each of those terms were, because urban is not, I think it's really a misnomer. It's not, we're not talking about skyscrapers or anything like that. It's any development. It's a single family house. It's a shed. It's a warehouse. It's a commercial structure. It's anything that's been developed that's man-made. It even includes the retention ponds that are put in. That's considered urban because it's part of, it's not a natural feature. Agriculture, I think, speaks for itself. Barren land is also an interesting one. This could be, if we lived on the coast, this would be the sandy beach, but what it also is land that's under construction. Anything where they can see the land has been moved. So when we look at maps comparing, which we will in a second, 2002 to 2020, you can actually see where some subdivisions were under construction, or some of the warehouse on 33 were under construction and are now built. So this just shows there's been significant increase in the urban land use land category. So since 2002, significant development has occurred. And again, that could be residential, commercial, or
So
industrial.
the justification for the increase in water, which is odd.
Yeah.
Is that retention ponds and things of that nature, or for
So
structures?
no, because retention ponds are considered man-made, so they would be under urban. What we think it probably has to do, because wetlands have decreased, we think part of that might be that wetlands becoming so much more saturated that they're just considered water at that point.
You're saying they decreased.
The wetlands have decreased, but the water has increased. So wetlands and water are considered different. The
Yeah,
aerial,
no, I get it. So,
yeah.
okay.
So we think that might be part of it. It would be, we noticed that too, and I can't account for the whole 13% increase.
It's a
So
significant increase too.
it
That's-
is. One thing I'd like to do as we continue this process in our analysis, because this will be part of the natural resource inventory, we'd like to take a little deeper look and see what of the water has actually, if we can pinpoint a little bit more specifically, because that is an interesting,
Could that be like runoffs from lakes becoming small rivers?
yes.
Because Prineville Lake runs off and the Rocky Brook has been getting bigger.
Yeah, so if the brooks have been getting bigger, then the imagery would pick that up, and that would be
but
part of it.
that If it only would equal that if the lake became larger. Like the lake retains more
The
water.
lake is eroding. The lake is eroding the land around it.
So if the lake's getting bigger, and if its tributaries are getting bigger,
Right, so it wouldn't be
then,
content of the lake. It's necessary, it's just the size of the lake.
right. Because don't forget, these are all derived from really high definition aerial imagery, so, yeah. So if you can go to the next slide, Daniela.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
This is going to be a little bit hard to see on this, but when you guys get the PDF later and want to take a closer look, this is going to show you the difference from 2002 to 2020 with the land use land cover. And there's a few that pop out. The barren land is that orange color that you see. And it does, yeah, right. So you can see there that was I believe it's a subdivision that was under construction that has now in the 2020 map turned into urban land. So this is, again, we're not going to dive into this tonight, but if you're interested, this will be in the natural resource inventory, but this particular side will be up on the website if anyone's interested in.
McKinley, how about
Diving in.
preserved land? What would that go?
So depending on what is within that preserve land, it could either be part of the forest or the wetlands or the water.
Oh, it doesn't have no separate.
It's no, because it's not evaluating like easements or specific lot lines. It's using aerial imagery to determine when the land use category changes.
I'd like to see that overlaid in this
Yeah.
map, like that it would be.
I'm curious,
Yeah,
since
especially
since
some of
everything
the,
was, bought recently, a lot of wetlands,
ag-
preserved.
agriculture farms and open space. We've done a lot of open space over the past 10, 15
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, we could. We can't overlay the conservation areas just because there are so many. We don't have a data set that includes them all, but we do have agricultural land and open space, so that might be something that we could, compare to.
And McKinley, if I may, I think we also requested the zoning map be updated, and that would also
Yeah.
include those areas on that overlay. So when the zoning map is updated as part of this process, those two farmland and open space uses will be added.
Next slide, please, Daniel. And just some broader, this is another example of agricultural soils on the right. But some broader things that have happened over the last 10 years. The township has worked to continue efforts to maintain the rural character and environmental integrity through various ordinance updates and actions like adopting a new farmland preservation plan in 2020. Additional ordinance revisions have occurred to improve the specific processes and clarify regulations. Our office has worked very closely with Danielle and the zoning officer and the construction officer and the engineer and this board to really refresh some components of the zoning ordinance to make sure that it's much clearer to residents and to township officials what the standards are. That specific discussion about this will be included in the reexamination report. We'll go through in some detail the ordinances that have been adopted over the last nine-ish years. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's a broad, again, that's our overview about kind of what a master plan is, some changes from the last master plan. So tonight we're not proposing anything to you. We don't have draft recommendations. Even we have a list of potential concepts, but we haven't even gathered those all together. So tonight is really just collecting your opinions, information from you guys as residents about what you want to see for Millstone for the next 10 years. So we have 3 boards around the room, kind of 1, 2, 3, one behind you guys and one over here. And so I'm going to walk through all the boards and then ask you guys to get up and kind of pick a board to start with and then rotate around the room. I promise there's nothing too intense here. It shouldn't take you all too long. The first board, which is the one to the side, well, first board in this list here, what it does is it goes through on the left-hand side of the board, it goes through the 6 guiding principles that were included and written for the 2017 master plan. And it asks you to decide whether each of those principles is, whether you believe it's relevant to your life in Millstone. So there's little green sticky dots. For each principle, you'll take a sticky dot and note whether you strongly agree with that principle or strongly disagree with that principle. And with a second sticky dot, you'll tell us which one of those 6 principles is the most important one to you. And by tell us, I mean you just put the sticky dot on. That's all you have to do. And there are directions specifically on the board. The right-hand side is we have big sticky notes and pens. If you wanted to edit or if you thought any of the existing principles needed edits, what would those edits be? If you think we're missing anything, do additional principles need to be added? And again, these are big vision items about future land use goals for the town. So we're not talking about like, oh, I think setbacks for sheds should be increased to 30 feet. These are broader pictures. So what topics, if any, are we missing? So we'll ask you to use the sticky notes to tell us that.
So just give me an example of a couple broader concepts that you've seen in other towns that the public might be concerned about.
So one thing we don't really touch on in the 6 principles that exist here are circulation and traffic issues. So if that's a particular concern of anyone here, that might be something you would want to see further represented in the town. A lot of the principles, as you'll see, are very environmentally and open space focused, which is very important to Millstone, but there might be something more about the built environment and physical development that you do or do not want to see.
Thanks.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So the second board, which is behind you guys in the rear, this one will involve just using the sticky notes and the pens about your vision for Millstone in 2026. If you could write a tagline for Millstone, or your vision is to see X in 1 or 2 sentences over the next 10 years, that's what you would put in the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, with another sticky note, we'll ask you to write what you see, what are challenges that the township faces to reach your goal. If your goal is to preserve more open space, what do you see as a big challenge to meet that goal? I should say your response on the right-hand side doesn't have to have anything to do with your response on the left-hand side, but just that's what we're hoping to see. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Millstone between now and 2036? Next one. And then the final board, which is the one over here, this has 2 sides again. The left-hand side we know Millstone does have several, while most of your land here is residential and open space, you do have several commercial districts that are thriving or not, depending on how you want to look at it. So if we're just thinking about the existing commercial districts, the boxes at the bottom are lists of uses. Using the sticky dots again, vote for the uses, these are again non-residential, they're all commercial. Vote for the uses you most want to see in Millstone. Do you want to see more office spaces? Do you want to see fewer office spaces? Would you prefer light industrial? Would you prefer small scale retail? So those are all listed. You can vote for as many as you want. If you have an idea that's not listed in there, you can write it on a sticky note and put it on there. You can write it directly on the board if you want. I will say these boards are not, the easels are not the most sturdiest of things, so if you're gonna write on the boards, be very careful. They're easily knocked over.
If I can clarify, is it just in the commercial zones, not in every zone, just what we want to see in the commercial zones?
The left-hand side is just commercial zones.
Okay,
Yeah.
so only responding what we want to see in those commercial zones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us a couple of examples of our commercial zones.
Well, some of these uses are already permitted. Oh, wait, you mean the actual zones?
Yeah, like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so we have the PCD, the Planned Commercial District, is mostly, I think, if not all, along 33. That's where you see the larger warehouses being built. We have a highway commercial zone and a neighborhood commercial zone. Those permit smaller scale retail. A lot of highway commercial on 33. We have some neighborhood commercial interspersed around the town. For example, where the municipal building is, those are in that immediate vicinity. Those are a lot of neighborhood commercial. The BP Business Park Zone we see on Burnt Tavern Road. And I always forget.
So when you come out of the
Broadway.
building here and make a right, and there's a Vesuvio's Pizza, is
NC.
that
That's
considered-
NC. That's
Okay,
a neighborhood commercial, yeah. So those are the types of uses in the neighborhood commercial zone. We didn't break out this question by zone just because we're more curious about the actual uses that you want, but right, those are,
Jeff, did I interrupt you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think she's thinking about Prado and Way.
Prattling Way, thank you. Yeah, that's another BP area. And then the right side is generally just, I want to see more X in Millstone. And this is everything from different types of residential development, conservation, different preservation options. I'm trying to remember what else is on there. You'll see when you get to it.
Multifamily residential.
Yes.
Mixed uses.
Mixed uses, so, or do you want to see fewer of that? So again, using the sticky dots, you'll vote for as many as what you want to see more of in the town. And this also, if you have something that you can think of that wasn't on the board, there is again an option to put another sticky note on there, or write straight on the board. Each board has a little desk next to it that's got the sticky notes, it has the dots, it has pens. Each little desk also has a large colored note card. That is just if you have anything that you want us to know that is not represented in any of these boards or anything we've talked about tonight, write it on there, a concern, a question. If you have a question and want a response, make sure you put an email or something or a way to contact you. But that's just if you have any general other things you want us to know, and that can just be handed straight to me before the end of the night, and I'll make sure those are collected. Any further questions, especially the board members, but also the public, about how we're going to function here? I want you guys to get up too, by the way.
So if knowing me, as soon as I got in my car to go home, I would think of something. How do I communicate that back to you or the board, or is that even an option?
Yeah, so I'm going to volunteer Danielle for that. She's been the keeper of all of our sources here. So, Danielle, what's a way that they can?
So McKinley will be getting out a questionnaire,
Yes, I can.
and I will have it on, if you go to the Millstone website, boards and committees and commissions, click on planning board. I will put a link to it somewhere on the top of this page, just so it's easily accessible for the next couple weeks until we kind of start honing in on things.
Yeah, and that's something I hadn't mentioned yet. After tonight, we're going to take the responses from you all, and we're going to use those to develop some slightly more specific questions, but also it'll all be a digital survey for anybody who couldn't attend tonight, and you all as well if you'd like to participate. So that's what Danielle's talking about. There will be a
Or you
follow-up.
think of something on the car ride home.
Yeah. Yeah, so there will be that other opportunity for you to, and your neighbors and your friends to provide some feedback if you'd like.
Similar to how I did the e-blast for everybody to know about tonight's meeting, I will also send it out like that.
Great, thank you.
So when do we start and when do we end?
So with that, right, so it's 10 after.
Sorry, I love to
yeah.
micromanage.
No, I know, it's
I
great.
can't stand it.
It's good, I like it. So it's 10 after 8 now, so as soon as I'm done talking, if you guys want to get up and start kind of walking around, including our board members here, just pick a board to start at. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure you hit all 3. And we will regroup back here half an hour unless you get through it faster. If you're done in 20 minutes, whenever you've gone through all of the boards, if maybe you could sit back down so we know that you're done with it, and then we'll just regroup for another 5 minutes to walk through next steps. So at most, be done by 8:40, but.
Or 8:30.
You want to say 8:30? Okay. He's been driving for like 8 hours today, so I think he wants to get home. So let's say 8:30. And yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Please.
Maybe it'd help the public in their questionnaires. First of all, how hard is it to be able to change a zone?
In terms of the uses in it?
Yes.
So it's really important that the master plan, if there is a desire to change the uses, it's very important that the master plan note what that is. Because again, it is a legal basis for changing the uses. If the community and the planning board decide that, hey, the neighborhood commercial zone needs to no longer allow pizza restaurants, because we all of a sudden hate pizza, that needs to be in your master plan, and there is absolutely precedence for the township committee then to refer to that when they're changing the uses in the zone. When they change the uses in the zone, it needs to be consistent with what the master plan says. Now, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to list out exactly every use, but it needs to be consistent with what the goals and recommendations are. So if the goal of the master plan is, hey, there's a certain type of use that we don't want anymore, we recommend taking this out, that's a very viable recommendation. Or vice versa, if there's a use that's missing, which again is kind of part of this board here, that is what we want to recommend being included. So when you ask how hard it is not difficult, but it makes the process much easier if it's in the master plan. It's much more enforceable.
Second question, please. As long as I've been sitting on this board, I noticed, obviously, since way past 17, we've noticed a lot of applications dealing with warehousing, cell towers, so on and so forth. I'll speak for myself. That's not a desirable thing I would like to have in this town. Then why didn't we change this, or why can't we change this in the master plan?
I don't know why there hasn't been changes previously, but now is a good opportunity to recommend sweeping ordinance revisions such as
I mean,
that.
According to our last economic development committee, which probably done around 15 years ago, and I remember noted that even if all our commercial properties were developed in our town, it wouldn't lower our taxes $5. Then why are we allowing this to happen to us, where we're allowing these major warehouses and other industrial parks being developed?
Well, you're emphasizing the importance of tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the
Right.
opportunity to get ahead of it as we move forward.
Right.
And now you're leading the witnesses, but
But right, that's.
I mean, I think that's, listen, I'm only speaking for myself. I mean, listen, I don't want warehouses. I don't want it. I don't think we need it, especially if it's not gonna lower my taxes $5.
and you don't like pizza places?
I was using pizza places as the non-biased version of that, but but yes, so that's where you want to, again, if you have a very strong opinion about a specific use like that, tonight is the night in using these boards or the cards to represent that, so we can collect that.
Anything else from anyone else on the board before McKinley says go?
Can I ask a question?
Please, yeah.
Sure.
Is there gonna be another meeting like this that we're having tonight? Because one of the things you said we're not gonna discuss is the affordable housing. And I think that's a big issue in the town right now. And if we're not gonna discuss it here, when are we gonna have that opportunity to discuss
So
it?
let me rephrase that a little bit. If you have a concern about affordable housing or multifamily housing or residential at all, please feel free to put that on these boards. I didn't want to say that you can't bring it up. I just meant that we weren't going to go into any in-depth discussion about where the township is with affordable housing tonight.
I think comments about it are important. If you're
Absolutely.
concerned about it, as a lot of people are.
Yeah.
It is a good idea, considering you have the board here to discuss your angst with it.
I understand the controversy, but what my concern, or some of the concerns, is where they're putting them.
Yeah.
And I understand the township is in a tough spot with that, with the state, it's very difficult for the township. But where they're putting it, like, they put 60 homes on Burnt Tavern, and I'm glad the gentleman in the front asked about the traffic there, because if everybody has gone down that road, you know how a nightmare it is to even make a turn left or right on either end of it.
Yeah, so,
Fatal accident.
right, that's a topic. So I would recommend, and let me reiterate, with the ones with like sticky notes where we're asking for your feedback, you can put as many sticky notes and thoughts on there as you want. You can talk to us, of course, but it's a little easier for me to quantify it and qualify it later if I have your written ideas. So if you have concerns about where it's being located or how much of it is, please, yeah, I agree. Put it on the boards, talk to us about it. We're just not gonna go into a discussion.
When's a good time for this gentleman to address this, though? Do we want to put sticky notes on the board, then we all convene, and then we're going to have these discussions now? Or
So
is he
affordable.
getting the impression we're going to take that information, we're going to look at it,
Yeah.
and that's not going to satisfy you and your questions today.
No,
And
so
I'm concerned for you today. I have a lot of questions about it, too.
today's just an input session, right? We're not gonna, right, so,
That's what I'm asking, is there gonna be a follow-up to this, or you guys are just gonna take the sticky notes and then never gonna give anything again?
No,
And on
so-
another note, I don't know where the email blast went out, but I never got an email blast about this. I know it was just passed around. Is there a place that we can all sign up so we all
Absolutely.
get on that email blast?
Absolutely. On the township's website, at the bottom of the page, news and notices, it's on here, number one, but subscribe to notifications right on the bottom of the page. And you
Is that
select,
the pixel?
Nope.
they're
This
separate.
is,
They're
this is
separate.
separate.
Okay.
You sign up for which announcements you want, news and notices, or various, anything else.
Yeah, I think there's like, what did you say, there's about 2,000 people on that
Yeah,
listserv?
there's over 2,000 people on that email list.
Yeah. But to go back to your previous question, so yeah, so tonight again, we're collecting input and then we're gonna do a secondary survey that goes out so that people who couldn't come tonight can also be heard. We do have a working group, a subcommittee of the planning board that, once I collect all of the information from this and the surveys, we will review. We will work to turn those into discussion points or recommendations for the master plan itself, and we will be back in front of the board for a discussion of what those recommendations we have brought together were. And those recommendations will all be based off the discussion tonight, the survey, everyone's general knowledge of the town. Affordable housing, though, really needs to go to the township committee. There was a whole process for that in 2025. This board did adopt the housing element in June of 2025 that went through where all the housing was the affordable housing was going to be located. But there's been a huge legal and court process that has been going on since August. That is not finished, I should say. There is a court date scheduled for July, I can tell you, because this is not done. So broader questions, though, is out of the hands of the planning board right now and is a township committee question.
You have, I don't know, 30 concerned residents here. Shouldn't there be a follow-up to this and say, hey, we heard you, this is what we got out of it?
Cool.
Hearing you correctly.
That's what that's when we put together the recommendations. That's what that is.
But it sounds like you're putting the recommendations before having the follow-up
Yeah,
with the residents.
do we get another opportunity to have input? Is this our only chance to have an in-person input?
Right
Well,
now,
we have 12 meetings a year, and as you heard at the beginning of this, there's always a public comment portion at the beginning, so we could see you 12
But nothing
times.
structured in this manner.
This is the structured opportunity, although you did hear Danielle say that there will be a follow-up questionnaire that will be sent out for those that want to follow up again.
Is everybody here for affordable housing? Is there, like a show of hands, who's here for,
I don't
who's,
think that's really appropriate for.
I'm not allowed to ask that?
Well, no, that's not our purpose of our meeting.
I know, I'm just curious to see, try to gauge a small subset of people who live in town and how important that issue is to those people, to everybody.
I'm going to guess
I know-
it's important to everybody in this room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, is
Yeah.
that like the driving issue that's concerning people? I'm curious. Yeah, I mean, it is for me too, that's why I ask. I sit on this board and out of concern for, yeah, I,
But again, even to the point, you're putting 60 units in, and that roadway is not meant to handle it, so.
I get it.
That whole concept of us not having, we live off Pine Drive, and I can tell you, it's a nightmare for me to just get to my house anymore, because people are just doing a U-turn trying to get into Venture Crossing, like right in front of me.
Well,
So-
situations
Again,
where the
it's-
board has
if we don't
approved
have
various.
if we don't have a master plan of around, like, the roadways to support all of this additional commercial.
Well, this
So
is your opportunity.
That's a really good
to raise
comment.
that in
Yes.
writing.
I
Yeah.
think,
That's- I mean, it's like
Yeah.
we put this thing here, and then there's no plan around how we deal with
So-
that, and we have state police, so it's not.
right, so that's a good thing for the master plan. And we have, the township keeps a list of roadways that have had improvements over the last however many years and ones that have not, which actually we've already talked about, and we're going to be including that list in the master plan document. So your comment is 100% what we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's a big concern of yours. I think that's probably a big concern of your neighbors. So please tell us that. We're gonna take that, and we're gonna take it very seriously, because that is something that development doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It affects, one development affects the roads, affects the runoff, affects the neighbors. So this board understands that. This is what they do every month here. So
So McKinley, so we get the input tonight, the questionnaire goes out, we get that further input, the subcommittee meets to try to cull it together. Do we then deal with that at another planning board meeting?
So right now, we don't have it scheduled yet, but we have determined that after we pull all of the feedback together and we turn them into draft recommendations, we'll be back in front of this board, and the public is going to be invited to come to that.
so during that beginning part that Mitch had said, does anybody have a comment? Is that a good time for them to attend, let's just say, in theory, the July meeting, And during that moment in time, after they've read some information, to come in, address this board again, hey, I saw this is what came from the information we collected, I'd like to address the board. So
Absolutely.
maybe that answers your question. Will you get an opportunity to talk to us face to face?
That answers.
Yeah,
And I mean-
it's more comfortable to have a conversation
Yeah.
with somebody who's gonna vote on it. I think that's great, and you should do that.
And generally, you know, we are going to take everything what we have tonight, and before we even get to draft recommendations, we're going to put it together in a summary document, and that's going to be sent out to everybody, so everyone can see what the results were from tonight. And then, as Chris said, I mean, it doesn't even have to be our formal discussion on the plans. You can just come to the June hearing if you want, and at the beginning, if something you thought about you didn't think of tonight, like Mitch said on your way home, you can come and talk then. But we will have a more formal
But also, the fact
presentation
that
of it.
you're gonna set up this questionnaire too, it's great if you can get your neighbors involved. You know,
Yeah.
this town is
Yeah.
a weird place in a lot of ways, but it's a small town and we all like it that way. And we do care about what you guys say. Like, it's not just we're up here and you sort of rub, it's, you know, we all are neighbors. So your input's really important. You should ask your neighbors, like, your Pine Drive issue, you have a bunch of neighbors back there. That's been a crazy situation ever since Great Adventure's been around, right? So you guys you should ask your neighbors to give some input. It is valuable. Kinley's 100% right. We take it seriously. We do care. We have to face you. And those things matter. So please ask other people to put input into it.
Yeah.
The way that if this is our only session for formal input, the way that this question is phrased around if the township were to encourage new development, you're kind of forcing us into a vote for what we're okay with, prioritized. Is there a way to capture the sentiment of who doesn't want to encourage new development?
You can kind of say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can- you
we
can-
should, you know.
Kind of ignore that phrasing. I think it's more like, well, you already permit commercial development, so do you want to see within your, because you already have commercial zones. So, I mean, you could put a sticky note that just says eliminate all commercial zones if you want. But this is really more within your existing commercial zones, what are the types of commercial uses you want to see? So I apologize if that's a little, wording's a little strange. Yeah. There's two of you, so whichever wants to go first.
Right. Is there any way Danielle can put up the map so we can understand the zones a little bit better?
The zoning map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
that's
behind you.
While we're filling
Yeah, I
out
think
these
there's one
numbers.
behind us
They're
too.
behind you.
Is one of the zoning?
It's the zone. This has all the zones. So the ones that start with an R are your residential zones. The NC is neighborhood commercial, that's either residential or commercial, but not mixed use. And then the other ones are some type of, there's the highway commercial one, PCD, which is night commercial development, business park, and recreation camp. So those are your non-residential.
Is there a place people can go to understand what those nomenclatures stand for?
That same E-code that we brought up before, the zoning ordinance. But Danielle, you can also pull up the zoning map on here too, right?
Pull up the what?
The zoning map?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, and that way we can have it on the screen up here as well.
Sure, and like, to what Chris was just saying, if you wanted to see what was in the HC zone, you can certainly just type in HC, and our Wi-Fi's quick there.
Yeah.
You click on that, and this gives you the purpose. It starts with a
Yeah.
preamble about what the zone is about, and what's allowed in the zone, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I will
And you
pull
guys
up
can
the
just
zoning map.
access that on your phone, so, yes, sir.
Delicate.
What is the mechanism for enforcing the master plan? I mean, when you look at the affordable housing on Burns Tavern, that was a BP zone, that was a business park zone, and all of a sudden we're putting residential in a business park area.
Yeah.
And what is the mechanism to
It's
enforce the
on
master
our
plan?
ordinance.
So could we defer COA exact questions, because that's really state
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
before.
regulated on top of municipalities.
It's-
This is a master plan
yeah, but
for the
that's-
township.
No, COA is trumped by state. It does, state regulations puts COA wherever it wants, above and beyond municipality zones.
But then we can put it in a better place for the town. Where it's put is a township decision.
Well, not necessarily,
No,
actually.
no.
And I don't want, again, it's really
No.
not the right venue to get into the nuances of it, but where it's put is not necessarily the township decision. It is sometimes forced upon the municipalities,
If we don't
so.
make a decision on where we can put it.
I disagree, but I think that's a
What is the
conversation for
mechanism-
somewhere else.
The mechanism for enforcement of the master.
So if we take, if we take affordable housing out of the picture, because that is enforced, like Jeff said, by the state, that is very separate from the rest of the master plan documents, the rest of the master plan elements.
You know, it's a challenge that every municipality in the state
is,
deals with,
yeah.
okay? Some deal with it a lot better than others.
Yeah.
We happen to deal with it
There's no.
the absolute best. I know you think that it's not the right thing to do, have it on Burke Tavern Road, or have it on Prineville Road, or have it on this road or that road. But the reality is that if you don't address it properly, the developer comes in and he gets to build 4 market rate units for every one of your affordable obligations that forced on you through the state affordable housing, okay? So Millstone's taken the route that it's going to partner and with agencies and only build the affordable units,
Inclusive.
okay? Only the affordable units. So if your if our obligation was 100, okay, we're using every mechanism we can to reduce that to a lower number than 100. But if we didn't do anything like other towns do, we would have 500 homes, okay?
And we have a bit of that in the Hexa property where we don't have it, it's not as intense as Steve had described, but it's allowed to be. So Steve's saying, as opposed to getting the 500, we know it doesn't fit here, we know environmentally it doesn't work, it's septic, it's well, there's a million reasons why it doesn't work here. It's incredible that people in the state are so dense that they don't have the understanding of what's going on here. But nonetheless, though, we inherit this problem, and we're doing everything we can to try to mitigate it. Mitigating is taking it over, and so you get that idea. So we're trying, but at the same time, we can't stop it. And I look at that Hexa property, that's fundamentally wrong. At one point, like the design of it, it has houses, that road people go about 50 miles per hour on, if not faster, and I'm guilty of that, just so you know. We have houses that are going to be, I think it's 20 feet off the road. Now, if I have a condo and there's a small child there, God forbid this ever happens, but some little kid zips out the door, and you're going 60 miles per hour. I mean, it's just simply disastrous. We've done everything. We've said, like, build berms, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. It's fundamentally wrong, and people at the state level do not care. And I'm with you. I stand right next to you in this issue, as we all do. But unfortunately, like, what Steve's describing is probably the best we can do.
This is the best, this
I'm not arguing-
is
I'm
the
not
absolute,
No, I know,
this is
and
the
I would love it
absolute,
not to be.
this is
Like-
the absolute best scenario anybody can ever wish for, okay? Because if you look around the state, look at Marlboro, Manalapan, Freehold, there's thousands and thousands of condos being built because of this process, okay? But look what's happening
Yeah.
in Millstone.
Yeah.
It's minuscule, okay, because of the way that we're handling it. We're doing a really, really good job.
But it's
It
still
could have been different,
not good.
And we're fighting really hard to keep it that way.
Right.
I don't,
and it's a tough
I get what
situation.
you're saying is how difficult the township is in this position.
We don't,
The question originally was, what is the mechanism for enforcing the
so
business
again, so
plan?
we take affordable housing out of it, because that's the state. It's not an enforcing document in the sense of the way a zoning ordinance is. It's a policy guide. So there's not really an enforcement mechanism in here. Is your question about how do we make sure that the recommendations actually happen, or is it about how do we make sure a town actually adopts one?
So think of it this way, Dan. The master plan, think of it as a framework as to how the town should look. Ordinances come off the master plan, and that's the enforced actions
Yes.
that are based on the framework. So if we want to enforce an ordinance, okay, then that's the enforceable, say, code violation or a building code or something like that. That all refers back to some code in the code book where the master plan is.
I get that. But
So-
when we stray from the master plan,
We don't stray
So
from
here's the
master
thing, if an
plan.
ordinance is introduced that recommends a rezoning that's not in the master plan, this board would review it and would determine it to be inconsistent with your master plan.
Correct.
When this board determines a pending ordinance inconsistent, the governing body must adopt it by a supermajority, meaning it's gotta be more than just one vote over more than just half. And they have to adopt a resolution stating why they are going against the wishes of the planning board. And that has to be filed, well, filed's not the right word, but adopted along with everything. So if something happens at the governing body level that is directly against what this planning board and the community has decided they want in their master plan, it's a big deal to have to do that.
So just to give you a simple example, at one point before the ordinance was changed, people could have built 40-foot warehouses. We looked at the
Yeah.
zone, we looked at the ordinance, we trimmed that back down 10 feet to 30 foot. Okay, that was something we did in between. We changed the ordinance, we enforced it. Applications that came before this board that wanted to still go up that high, of course, they could do a variance. We rejected them, because now we had a legal mechanism behind to reject the variance.
Tried to make the warehouses uncommercial, like the need and what they look for is this 40-foot height. I have no idea how warehouses work, right? So we're trying to make it as difficult for somebody to build it here. We can't really stop it per se, which is kind of a weird statement because there must be a way to do it, I always think, but we can't
You
really.
remove it from the zone.
But we can make it we can make it so the thing doesn't really work properly, and so a guy has to think twice if he wants to do it there.
And that was an example, I didn't go into detail, but one of my examples of ordinances that we've passed to try to maintain the character of the town. It's, when you're prohibiting a use, it's a much bigger deal. That's why if we want to change the uses, it really needs to be based in the master plan.
Yeah, and then you got state regulations that trump everything the municipality does, so you gotta balance that equation out too.
All right, I think we're ready to let
So-
everyone get
Yeah,
at
sorry,
it.
guys.
20 minutes.
So it's important, like for commercial, that it it stays on this board. Is there anybody in this room that would want commercial in residential areas?
I think that's a rhetorical question, right? No one's gonna say yes.
So with that, we're going to do 20 minutes, let's say at 10 of, at the latest, we'll regroup here. We're all going to get up. Let me know if you have any questions about the boards. But again, it really is, we just want to hear from you. If there's something that isn't represented on the boards, just go ahead and write it anyways. Fill out a note card and hand it to me. So,
She's gonna put a link for questions on the way home.
well,
It's not gonna be
today.
I don't mean exactly today, yeah.
It'll be sent to you.
Yeah.
And there'll be a link on the website. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, McKinley.
Hi. Nice to meet you, McKinley.
Millstone Road.
Yeah.
To the right-hand side, going toward 33, Millstone.
It's a little easier with the
Yeah,
color.
that's color,
There is a very significant area that is turned
If you
into
need me to zoom down, I can do
waterways
that
opposed to
too
the
when we
river
get to the
anymore.
lower
Beaver standed
areas.
off several years ago.
It's not fitting on the
I
screen
would
very
put that
well.
Probably at 10 acres. So there's one area that's grown.
That's grown significantly,
low.
yeah.
Depending-
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that, okay.
Depending when the overheads were taken, for water survey purposes, the Rocky Brook, Prineville Road near Disbro Hill, about 2 to 3 years ago, was the width of the entire wetland piece. It filled
Wow.
with water, once again, due to beavers. At some point, the county came in and cleared that out, and that's reduced that back to a more applicable stream with the wetland component. So depending the timing of some of that stuff when it was taken.
absolutely is
that-
probably
that was
reflected
probably
there.
that alone in that stretch was probably 10 acres right there.
I would-
So
yeah.
there's some of your growth, and it also depends how they looked at the retention basins that were built in the 514 Route 30, or no, 505 Route 33, the Showplace property. There's
Yes.
two significant lakes in there, and depending how they coded them for detention basins or not, that may give you some of your
Yeah.
differences for why, because believe me, as soon as the water thing went up, I'm like,
Yeah.
where did
Yeah,
the
that's-
lake at?
We, as soon as we pulled up that data, we asked the same
Yeah.
question, yeah.
Those
No,
are
that's
just
a
a
good-
couple
yeah.
suggestions that I have to look at
I
and look
appreciate
at
that, yeah.
timelines. But I've been in that wood piece where down between 505-33 and Millstone Road, I've been down in there and it is a massive lake that's been created as a result
Sort of beavers.
It's really interesting.
You know, I forget what.
They're an invasive species.
They're
They'll
they're
convince me
everywhere.
otherwise.
We're in another community where they've like put up in a man-made retention pond. They have built a dam in a man-made
We
retention
had
pond.
an
Invested
issue
everybody
right
in.
by the municipal building a few years ago where
Okay.
it took a small, reasonable lake, and I mean, it was point where I had real concerns if we had a significant weather event that we would flood Stagecoach Road, which has never, ever been an issue, but it got to be that significant. Or you run into these man-made berms blow out, and now you have a downstream impact, so.
The man-made berms can be, they're nice, like, screening mechanism, but they can be a problem if they don't work.
So that ultimately went away.
Yeah.
Rectified.
No, I
Just some
appreciate
thoughts.
that. No, that's really helpful, thank you.
Yeah.
See you on the ground now?
It's interesting, I wouldn't have thought of that.
I wouldn't have
And that's what, and I always hear that we're in a drought, so like to hear that these numbers increasing, like again, it was like, it seems kind of.
When we pulled that up last week or so, we were like, yeah, take a closer look at it now. I'm gonna get a drink of water.
We do have. So.
I know, but at the same time, I just wanted to know, and I get it, and I respect your words. I just was curious, like, is this a light, it's just me, is it a lightning rod issue for residents of most townships? Well, I agree with you, sometimes I don't feel like, I still think, I was thinking back to the days of our baseball. That's who cared.
He's not the official.
People care about X on the other side of town.
He's not the official military cigar, it's just Jeff's like, I'm not here for Christmas. He's an outcast.
Because my friends usually ask me because I can't send it to them. Those intersections too.
Yes, I know, that was a long time ago, we talked about.
Well, no, it's still active. Yeah. Line of intersection or what?
537
He knew exactly what No. Yep.
Love the country.
No, I don't mind you having that discussion, but like, let's do it at the end after we get like this accomplished.
Absolutely, a fighter all the way through. Yeah, I'm 100%, the whole career out of it.
What's going on, man?
So I'll be working forever. It's just, because I'm not comfortable about what happened in that meeting.
Which I'm happy. Jerry is on our shade tree commission.
Nice to meet you. Oh, good.
Actually, I forced everybody to.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, so you read them?
I did, yes, no, it's very helpful. I mean, I was saying, I know sometimes they're taking the first read, but they not the actual.
In my line of work, you need everybody's voice in order to make this decision.
So if the zoning changes, that application still moves all forward by renewal.
Yes, I appreciate your.
But I look at it, and I go, no matter how they cut it off,
Thank you.
the core obligations to make any sense.
I know you're lower.
You know, just you have issues with our zoning now as a result of it too. So we get the brunt of it as a result of, you know, now that it's not over by us.
Application with planning.
Hey, Steve, can you pass me my notebook?
They were trying to cut.
Thank you.
So when the homes are trying to get.
Yes.
Oh, it's being recorded?
She just
You want to turn it off?
No, she said you can't. She said that because it's public, still here, that's recorded all the time.
I'm surprised how well this is being received. I don't think anybody would do it. I think it's great. I get that too. I've been on the other side of this. I get it. That's why I think it's important that Is your place built? Are you done? Congratulations. Oh, I hate to say it. Good on the song. Well,
He went to her, it was obviously wrong, and also,
He didn't even know what he was answering.
oh, I didn't know that.
then they found out she was between.
I knew it was just what he was answering.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if you're on the internet, they can't see I saw him record everything he did.
Nice meeting you, thank you. I'll just, but I don't have any.
Perfect way to close
When you
out.
think of stuff, and you can always call me for stuff I
Yeah, I just saw the email, they were like, oh, when they changing everything? But it's not, I get it, Sabrina, I get it.
Yeah, it was every time somebody go back and see them.
It's so frustrating.
I actually like the way Millstone does it, because I know it's little pieces, and they're not giant.
And that's what Steve was trying to do.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, it's tastefully done, and it's, right across the street from the town hall.
When I go back to everything to even the slightest thing.
I understand North Carver Road comes in with 537, two different counties, two different townships, the interstate 195, all that has to be, that should have been done with Tim Bedford Crossing. They should have done the bridge over 195, but I get it.
Overdevelopment, warehouses, traffic code.
Well, that's what I do, I couldn't find anything on the county, website.
My corner, and I didn't really have to look either way. I just don't. The last 2 years, I could sometimes sit there for a few minutes before I could get out. Yeah, because they happen over where we are. Arlen is a disaster. I think people.
No, I know it's a dangerous intersection.
Well, that's no, I'm talking about traffic coming up Stillhouse. They're using from 33 to get to 537. I'm telling you, you never used to see cars. Even on a Sunday morning now, if I'm on my motorcycle, I gotta sit there and
Oh, that should be, yeah, when I leave my house, I make a right. I don't, if I have to go to Freehold, I make a right, pass the house, go around, I get off the light.
I don't take a break. People figured out ways through the town instead of staying on 527. It's unavoidable because of development of 33 and 537. Maybe we can figure out ways to divert them some other way. Some more speed bumps. There you go.
Right.
I'd tell you the most got it.
Right turn only, that's what I figured, right turn only,
I mean, as far as
which is fine.
Obviously, we always like.
Yeah, because that's a hard, like,
Specific role. Pretty impressed.
It's just like, I just, every day, and like, fly back, I need to do this, so what do you think about
the other thing I've also heard is that the piece between me and 537, that Greenleaf has their sign on, is for sale. I've been contacted by a couple different realtors to buy it. However, you can't do anything with it. There's not enough room to do anything with it. I said to him, I said, well, I'll give you $10 and I'll pay this. All it's going to do is make my lot bigger. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I like the way it is. That's why
it's exhausting.
And when that road gets redone, that's eventually that's going to be
1 day later. Yeah, that's what it is. Require somebody, like, going through this whole thing, as soon as it gets fixed, you might not have to
It's not gonna be easy, none of it. None of it's gonna be easy. It's something that reminds me of beautiful soul.
That's fine.
And I like,
But it's not big enough to individually.
taking it apart, and all kinds of things, I'm like, I don't know these things was, like, where's the, like, we're electric. She said, no, you'll be fine. I'm like, I don't think so. Here, and this, it's like, man, I have huge issues. She's like, FaceTime me, I'm like, putting the phone there. Someone dying, screaming at us. I'm like, I can't keep the phone there, they can't hear you, so I'm too old to hear you. I'm like, you gotta work through here, you know?
Oh, God, yeah, you're right. 6 months ago it started. He could go peace and we're right to
I looked it up on record and
You said somebody going back to testing
it's not worth that much.
So one step at a time, Ralph. So you know him. He gets an idea.
Right, no, and that's
Yeah, my office, I think we should friend of mine. Who's full of wisdom. I just say,
Cancer,
I saw
Like I said, I was, I mean, New Jersey, you sit at this table, trying to have a conversation. I mean, overall, I like the kids, I like, but you need
oh, I agree.
question.
I mean, I'm okay with it.
Where are you? I'll be in Florida for a few more weeks.
Essentially, get zoning
I know. He loves you. You know, but he's got a pretty sweet ear. Oh, I know. He's done pretty well for himself, right? Yeah, I think that's pretty good too.
when I worked for everything,
Right, so it's got that, two bedrooms there, so. It worked out fine.
We counted the one that we were laughing so hard.
The master plan will stop any desired changes to these zones.
I gotta go see it.
There once. He's got John. Eight families. Now, it's supposed to be part of
It's a 10-acre threshold, and now like, yeah, what could I do? It previously was already, I think it's
I know, they want to move into that back.
like from the maps I saw, it was already 80, and then now it's already 80, so like.
So I'm not sure why they would have changed it. I can tell you, even though it's been very sized.
That was originally ours. Yours.
It definitely isn't changing. That's about it. It's getting more crowded.
Because that's the same specific that would
It's a different meeting.
So there's a couple, there's 3 different bodies. There's your governing body, which is the 20 adopts all of them.
I got an hour. Great, kill the whole hour. Walk around Publix. Right, or I'll have to drive to San Francisco. Down here, called Sunset Beach.
So those guys are
So I have a condo right now, swap that out, build something. It's your spot. Leave the west spot. We have friends over there. Since we bought down, you don't mind if we go into other people know we bought down. So we got a crew already.
Fucking has worked for 2 years. We're saying, around Christmas time, I never forget this. We're sitting through, I laugh at it, and we're saying, where are you? With Jake, we're saying, Jody, I think I'm actually this is when everyone
Still a lot of
Yeah. I was going to say, I have a card. Didn't bring it up for. My email is on here. Like I said, we're the town planners. Danielle might be your first line of defense just because of how knowledgeable she is. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad you came.
Great job. It's like one house, it's like really not even. I go to the number 5. That like I really can't afford it. Like, there's nothing. So now he's
I'll let you make
he's a fan now. And it's like budget less than $2 million, which is totally unaffordable.
Just eat the cake.
Like, so what do you got changed? Yeah, change zip code. Yeah, change zip code. That's the answer.
Do you want me to call everybody? You're just so hesitant. Very specific.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's on my call.
Asian cuisine.
Okay, very politically correct.
No, I mean, that combines everything.
Okay. All right.
When you rehearse, take it seriously.
Conan, Cantonese, whatever, all of it.
I know.
Malaysian.
Hey Danielle, we're gonna wrap it up.
Words look good, people.
Yeah.
Oh, not because I was trying to be, I was just meaning like combine lines.
Into one.
Do you know my handwriting?
No.
Okay.
Why did you write something about me?
That's not for you.
No, I don't know.
No, I should have, but people were watching, so I couldn't. Yeah, I was gonna say we should have it for Canadians, but I can't. No one will get the joke.
I would never.
Especially if you do it. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very careful with that. If I see wash your hands a couple times a day.
Yeah, no, like, I'm really gonna keep,
Yeah, hey everybody, we're gonna wrap it up and ask that everyone take their seats, and the board is going to wrap up the meeting and then adjourn. So if everyone could give us your attention. As we said, if after the meeting you want to follow up on anything, you of course can follow up with Danielle. Okay? So we are back in session. Thank you everyone for giving so much of your time. Thanks everyone for giving us so much of your time and your thoughts with the many sticky notes and the dots. I appreciate it. Some of those are definitely mine. Danielle, you might know my handwriting, so just don't tell anybody else. So thank you all for your participation. McKinley, before we adjourn, just would you mind wrapping up for us and telling us again what we need to think about?
Sure. So again, just to echo what the chairman just said, really appreciate your interaction here. The boards look great. They're colorful. They look like they have a lot of good feedback. So I appreciate you guys coming out tonight on a random Wednesday in May. I know it's hard to give up your evening, so it's really appreciated that you all came and voiced your opinion. We've already talked about next steps, but I'll just sum up a little bit. So I'm going to take these boards, I'm going to photograph them, I'm going to type up all of the written comments and everything that involved dots. I'm going to put those into a more readable format. That summary of tonight's responses is going to be emailed out to that listserv by Danielle. It will also be posted on the planning board's website. I do recommend signing up for that listserv. It really does provide a lot of information, but if you don't want the emails, that will be on the website.
You don't filter, so if
I'm
you
not
see a
filtering
sticky
anything.
note that says something that you don't think makes sense, it doesn't matter, it still gets in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did say there's a need for Thai restaurants.
If that's what's on there, that's what I'm going to write.
We're looking at you, Dee, I think.
As long as I can read your handwriting, yes, it'll go on there. And then next step from that is we will be releasing, like we said, that follow-up digital survey, again, through the listserv, will be posted online. Please tell your friends and neighbors to respond to that as well. And similarly, we'll be taking those results and issuing a similar document with the results for everybody to review. We are hoping to have a final adoption date. I understand there's some steps in the middle, but just so you know, to have these documents done and finally adopted by this board by end of summer, early fall, depending on vacation schedules. So between now and then, there will be, like we said, that other planning board meeting where we will talk about really more the specific recommendations that have come from both tonight and our subcommittee discussions. Did I miss anything?
No, I appreciate that. So just looking at our agenda, Danielle, we still have listed here old business, board discussion, correspondence. Is there anything you wanted the board to focus on for tonight?
Not for this evening.
All right, would you confirm our next meeting date?
It is June 11th? 10th, yes.
June 10th,
I expect
7:30.
birthday gifts.
Is that your birthday?
Day after.
I'm
joking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's telling us now, so we
I'm giving them
remember.
time. I'm giving them time.
Yeah, actually, just say it again. When is your birthday?
Confetti is
June
around.
9th. June 9th, okay, right. That's around my wife's birthday, so I have to focus my priorities.
Reusable balloons.
Anyway.
Environmental commission, no balloons.
All right, you're occupying the meeting with your personal things. I think we are concluded. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation, and the board, of course. Thank you, McKinley. Fantastic job.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
That's a lot of talking for one night. You did great.
Appreciate it.
That Milltown thing.
That
we
one
still,
slip.
We still remember
That's
that.
all I'm going to be known for
Yes.
now.
You know I was going to bring it up again.
Yes.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for an adjournment.
I'd second
Tom?
that.
Go for it.
And the second came
Yeah.
before it. All right, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Thank
We
you,
are
everyone.
adjourned. Thank you, everybody.